Fox 23 is following breaking news. Let's go straight to Tulsa Police Chief Chuck Jordan holding a news conference about the Dallas officer killings.
We grieve with the Dallas Police Department and the people of the city of Dallas. This was a horrific event. There's a lot of angry words in this country right now, and possibly for some very good reasons. But this is not the way to resolve anything, by killing innocent police officers who are doing nothing but their job, trying to protect their community. My message today is not going to be about officer safety, how we're going to respond. We have some of the best trained officers in the United States. They know how to be safe, and they're going to be safe. They're going to be safe every day. But this is going to be a message about calming fears. One of my deputy chiefs brought to my attention there's three basic groups in this community right now who are probably very fearful: the African American community, the white community, and the police community, for a lot of reasons. I'm going to say up front, our officers are not going to let an incident in Dallas, Texas damage the fabric of trust that they've woven with our community. We are going to be and will continue to be guardians and protectors of our community, all segments of our community. We do recognize how we got to this point in our country, and our goal is not to widen any gaps, not to create a chasm that can't be crossed. Our goal is to continue to work with our community, communicate with our community, and to build trust. Tulsa, Oklahoma went through one of the very worst racial events in our nation's history. We're not going to do that again, not in our city. That's not going to happen. Our police department and our community will not allow that to happen. And I just want to assure everybody that we're going to redouble our efforts to make sure that we have a good relationship with our community and that we talk these things out. As I said earlier, there's a lot of angry words, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. Some of them the police department can do nothing about. So, socioeconomic reasons, historic reasons. But I promise you, we will do everything that we can do on our part to make things better in this community. And like I say, we are taking some precautions. We're monitoring some things to see if we have any outliers, any groups that would be proponents of violence against our police officers. Obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't monitor that. Right now, we've had nothing to indicate that in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to be, some of my officers are meeting tonight with some of our African American community and city leaders to try to make sure that everybody understands what our stand is, and our stand is we are guardians and protectors. So I say I just want to alleviate fears that there's going to be some kind of retaliatory action by the police here, or we're going to be so defensive that we won't be effective in our community relations. That's not going to happen in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have better quality police officers than that. We're going to continue to reach out to our community. We're going to continue to do things that make us better, and not things that make us worse. So I'll take any questions.
Can you explain the importance behind building the relationship between the community, specifically with the minorities? Because, a lot of folks are saying we can't trust any police officer.
Yeah, and I think if you look at that, that's not fair. If I look at that's very prejudicial. It's saying that all police officers are a certain way. That would be like saying all Chinese people or African American people or white people are a certain way. It's just not true. I think I'm not going to resolve this by standing up here and talking to you. My officers on the street, one-on-one, speaking to the citizens that they serve, are the ones that's going to resolve it. It's communications. It's what it always has been. That's how you build trust, and we're going to do everything in our power to continue that communication.
From what I understand, there's a rally or something that's going to be happening tonight in Tulsa. Are there any preparations to take extra security precautions for your officers and the people who are out there?
Our extra security precautions will be to protect the people who are exercising their First Amendment rights. I grew up in the 60s, I'm not scared of a protest. I'm not scared of. I think it's a very legitimate way for people to give their opinion and air their grievances, and our police department will always protect those people who are doing that.
Chief Jordan, you said to me on the phone this morning, Mayor Bartlett also said to me on the phone this morning that this was not about Dallas attacking officers. This was a few individuals and obviously a very carefully planned attack. But this does not obviously speak as a whole of what's happening across the country.
I'll disagree with the carefully planned attacks. That seems to, if someone wears something that looks semi-military and has a semi-military looking rifle, suddenly it's a strategically planned, well thought out attack. I didn't see anything that indicated to me that this was particularly well thought out. It was effective, but when you have a crowd of people and you have a weapon, it's easy to be effective. That's absolutely correct. This is not Dallas. If you listen to the news reports, there were protesters that were as dismayed by the police officers being attacked as anybody else. There were actually comments that the police officers treated them very good and that they were glad they were there. So, this is about airing some legitimate grievances, and we have a couple people who I'm going to call psychotic thugs that chose to use violence to air their grievances or whatever they had going on in their head.
I know that you said that you'll have officers meeting tonight with members of the African American community. We know that there's a planned rally tonight, but we've really, by and large, seen any rallies here in Tulsa remain pretty calm.
We've been very fortunate. We, the people, has been very professional, and they've been successful by being professional. We've never seen any indications of impending violence or anything like that in any of our rallies. And like I say, I'm always going to be a supporter of rallies and protests as long as they are peaceful.
You made a good mention, and Mayor Bartlett also said that this does serve as an important reminder of the Tulsa race riots. And you said you're not going to have that again, but obviously that's always in the back of our heads.
It is, and I'll be quite frank. The police department didn't do their job in 1921. They didn't protect the citizens that they were paid to protect, and that's not going to happen today. I'll guarantee it.
Chief Jordan, can you expand upon the emotion that you feel as a police officer? You've been in law enforcement for decades, as well as your colleagues, when you see Dallas play out and kind of how that resonates with you this morning?
Well, first of all, Dave Brown's a friend of mine. I went to Israel with Dave. We've gone to Dallas Cowboys games together. We meet at major city chief conferences. We've had a lot of long discussions, and so I'm hurting for him. I know what he's going through. I know the pain he's got to be feeling. I've been a police officer since 1969, and something like this always is just a knife to my heart. It just really hurts, and because I realize that the families behind, that are waiting for their husbands and their fathers to come home that aren't coming home, and it's hard. It's hard to watch this, especially if it's your troops. We've gone a long time without losing the Tulsa police officers, and I hope we go a long time more. But this is especially in this area. You lose a brother or sister officer due to an illness or something. That's bad enough, or to a car wreck. That's bad enough. But when it's intentional and it's murder, it makes it even tougher.
Chief, you've referenced the mood in the country, and obviously this attack didn't happen in a vacuum. What are your thoughts on the videos that have surfaced, and also that come with the two police-involved shootings that took place in Louisiana and Minnesota this week?
I'm not privy to that. I don't know what happened there, nor do you.
I mean, your thoughts, your response to how...
I have none. I don't know anything about it. I don't know until the investigation's over. I will always say that. I will always say that, because I know video can be very deceptive. I know that, especially if it's in the hands of somebody who's narrating at that time, it can be very emotional, and they can make it look like more than it is. I'm not saying either of these videos are that way. I'm just saying that I'm very skeptical of just looking at a video without looking at the other evidence and making a decision. So I don't know. I've not been in touch with either the authorities in Minnesota or in Baton Rouge, so I couldn't tell you. I will say this. I think the vast majority of the time, the body-worn cameras are good for our officers. I think they protect our officers. They also provide great evidence. They also give us transparency to show our community. I think Muskogee was a perfect example. My opinion, the chief of police in Muskogee handled that incident perfectly. And if it hadn't been for body-worn cameras, that may have had a very different outcome.
There's kind of a culture now that police are the bad guys. It seems like you see it on social media from people. How are your officers going out there to prove that, you know, you're putting on your bulletproof vest every day and you're out there to protect people, not to hurt them?
I think every officer in this police department, they know that that's their mission, is to prove that that's not the case. We can't control rhetoric nationally. We can't control rhetoric from other cities. All we can do is control how we interact with people of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's what we're going to do.
So for the young black man or the black woman watching this or watching our newscast, what kind of assurance can you give them to let them know that your men and women in uniform are going to do their job and protect us?
Well, I think, you know, I hope we've proven that to a certain degree during the Good Friday shootings, during some other incidents. Obviously, we're going to arrest African American people and we're going to arrest white people, and, you know, unfortunately, criminals come in all sizes and colors. And so we're going to have negative interactions with all parts of our community, and sometimes they're going to be violent. But those interactions are not normally, they are decided by the person that's being arrested. If I were an African American man, I had an African American son, probably the most important thing I would tell them is to comply with officers. There's court remedies if the officer's wrong, but to resist or to fight, that's asking for a disaster. You know, because once the officer feels like they're threatened, their life's threatened, they want to survive it too. And you know, like I say, we'll just let these other cases play out. I will say that's not happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you know, we had an incident, a recent shooting, and I think the video, I don't think anybody questioned whether they would have shot in the same circumstances. So, but yeah, I would just say that get to know some police officers, and you'll find out that they're the bad guys and they're not a threat. I understand where that's coming from, but try to remember Tulsa, Oklahoma is not every place else, and we're going to be better than every place else.
Chief Jordan, you mentioned the precautions and some situations that you guys are monitoring. Are you able to expand on what precautions you all are taking just to ensure the safety of your officers? Obviously,
No.
Okay.
Sorry, it's intelligence-based stuff, and no, we're not going to discuss it.
After Dallas, are your officers any more nervous going out on the streets?
Of course they are. Of course they are. And it's going to take them a day or two to be completely comfortable again. I'm going to be nervous. If I happen to get out in the public today, just the fact that I'm wearing this blue uniform, I'm a target to somebody, like the shooter in Dallas. But I think it's just that's natural to be a little nervous. Everybody's watching the news. Is this going to be something that spreads across the nation and be a nationwide problem? I personally don't think it is, and I don't think it's going to be one in Tulsa. But I don't think they're going to be so nervous that they still won't reach out to their community and do what they're supposed to do.
Chief, do you think this might lead to maybe some counseling or some more training to help prepare for? I guess you can never really prepare for the unexpected, but are there going to be some measures in place?
Well, I don't know what kind of training you do. You know, we're all vulnerable to anybody that wants to take a role as a sniper. Everybody in the world is, you know, including the President of the United States. You know, that's if someone has the will to kill people, and they're defenseless, if they're in a sniper position or go to unarmed people like Orlando, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And if there's not guns, they're going to use machetes. And if there's not machetes, they're going to use something else. I mean, this is about a psychosis that these people have. It's not about what weapon they use.
The bottom line, no matter if the nerves or not, you're going to protect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to continue to serve our community. And that's our role as protectors and guardians. And reaching out to people who feel disenfranchised, reaching out to people who don't have the socioeconomic advantages, we're everybody's police force. We're theirs too. And we're wrong if we don't reach out to them. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. It's short notice, I know, but I felt this was something that our community needed to hear, our stance on the Dallas incident. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Uh-huh.
You just heard Tulsa Police Chief Chuck Jordan talking about how they are committed to protecting citizens. Texas law enforcement just identified the suspect who was killed after a standoff that stretched on for hours as 25-year-old Micah Johnson, someone with no criminal record. New details are pouring in by the minute. Stay with Fox 23 and fox23.com for updates. We'll have new information on Fox 23 News at noon.